So what all we covered in the last class was what are the fiber refractive index of the core and cladding, what should be the relation between them, whether it should be high or low. We also talked about the numerical aperture, and we talked about the numerical aperture, the acceptance angle, and we also talked about the three windows of optical communication, that is around 850 nanometers, 1330 and 1550, which are the points of minimum attenuation, and also the band that is used for the communication. Then these were some of the numericals that we solved on using these relations. The new term that was introduced was the relative refractive index, and using that you could calculate your numerical aperture. Now, I talked about step index profile and also gave you as how the refractive index profile looks like, that it's a step shape, that core has a lower refractive index and cladding has a higher refractive index, right? This is what I had shown you in my last class. Now point is, if I have to represent it mathematically, how do I represent the equation of a refractive index? So this equation, because we will be needing these relations by defining the fibers, whether you do this mathematical modeling in your programming or experimentation. So this is a mathematical equation of your optical fiber, the step index optical fiber, which has got the refractive index is equal to N1 when the radius is less than A. What does A represent? A is the radius of the core, right? This A that you see, this is the radius of the core. So till your radius is, or the area is below this, the refractive index is uh, N1, and as you go beyond this, your refractive index reduces to N2. Okay, and depending on this, the important thing that we need to remember is this term modes. What is a mode? Mode is nothing but this I can name it as mode one path that a ray takes to reach the destination. This is say mode 2, the second part that the ray takes to reach the destination, and say 3, and there can be multiple paths. And there is also a fiber with the name single mode fiber, where your signal takes the axial path, or it travels through the axis because it is the shortest path. Okay, so as you have to transmit a single mode, we take a small diameter, and when we have to transmit a large number of modes, we take a larger diameter. Now, the question that may come in your mind is, I can take a single fiber, whether it is having a larger or a lower diameter. It depends on me as how many modes I want to transmit, and the same fiber can be used for my single mode transmission also. Uh, is this anyone has this kind of doubt, or do you have an answer for this? My question, is it clear? Why do we classify the fibers? This is a step index fiber, multi-mode step index fiber, because you can see the multiple rays or multiple modes that are traveling through this fiber. And this is a fiber, this is a single mode that is traveling or taking the axial path. My question is, do we need, or can I not use this multi-mode fiber which you say, or a fiber with a large diameter, for transmission of a single information? Can I do that? If you can reply in the chat. Anyone? Is my question clear? I'm talking about a step index fiber. Why do we name them as multi and single mode? Cannot this fiber be used for transmitting a single wavelength? Yes. Can anyone say? No one is there in the class? Yes, please reply in the chat. Is the question clear? The question is not clear. If it is passed straight somehow, you can use the single mode fiber for your um, transmission. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So she says that you can use, if I can transmit my only one information along the axial path. Okay. The answer is definitely there has to be a reason why you need two different type of fibers for different operations when you are sending multiple modes and a single mode is. This definitely the dimensions contribute to how many modes that can travel through it. And when I say multiple modes, what is happening is in this process you can have different angle of incidence and the ray can reach the destination. But when it is a single mode, you want it to travel through an axial path and you don't want the energy. Here what is happening is maybe at some kind of irregularity, suppose a kind of a bent occurring, what will happen is this bent may change, right? This is a kind of an error or a transmission loss. So at the destination you may not receive the information along this mode which is expected, but it is taking a new path. But in this process what is happening is if I'm sending a single information and the mode changes at a receiver, I have tuned it to receive a particular mode. But if that is absent, I may lose the information or basically I may not be able to. And if I send a single information through it, there are chances that my ray will get converted into the other mode, or which we call it as mode coupling. Mode coupling is energy associated with this particular mode gets transferred to another mode, and in this process this may get weaker or get lost and the whole energy get transferred to the other. So in the at the destination I may receive this information because energy definitely is conserved from here to here, but this mode is not reaching the destination. So multiple mode allows multiple paths to be followed for information to reach the destination, but single mode allows a single only. So it does not allow the energy to be transferred to another mode, and hence it shows that the information will be received along this mode at the destination. And in this way what happens is the point of losing an energy from a mode, that kind of attenuation does not occur in a single mode, and it is used for your long distance communication, and this multi-mode is used for your small distance communication because there are chances that the energy gets transferred to another mode, and in this process you may lose certain modes when you are transmitting over a long distance. So always for a long distance transmission we use single mode fibers, which are definitely, because as you see the dimensions are very smaller, here the diameter is in the range of 8 microns, whereas it becomes around 50 microns in multi-mode fibers. So fabrication, if we see how the fibers are fabricated, this will be definitely an easier process compared to fabricating with such a stringent, you can say that requirements on the dimensions. We'll come in more details of how to calculate these modes, or is there infinite number of modes that can travel through the fiber, or what is the limit and why there is a limit on it. Is this point clear? Right now we are only discussing the fiber, step index fiber, and mathematical representation of a step index fiber. Then I also discussed about graded index fiber. So for the graded index fiber, I told you that you have a fiber where your refractive index is varying with the distance from the core, right? As your distance from the core is changing, it is highest, or basically n1 at this particular, at the axis point, it is the highest refractive index, and as you move to the core and cladding refractive index, it reduces to n2, which is, you can say that, the refractive index of the cladding. So what is happening is there is a gradual change in refractive index, because of which your ray, when it is traveling, it experiences multiple refraction points, that it is moving from a denser medium to a lower medium, and in this process it will keep on bending till it comes to a point of total internal reflection. So what do you see is here, like a step index fiber which was like a straight line, it's a curved path. So this is the curved path that you get. And one more thing that you will observe in this is all the modes or all the paths that the light is taking will be coinciding at the axis at the same point. In this also, I told you that this graded index profile gives you less dispersion. This is less dispersion. This is because, okay, so it gives you less dispersion. This is because all the rays that you see, they are traveling, whether I say ray 1, ray 2, or ray 3. Definitely, they are taking the different path lengths, but they are also traveling through a different refractive index, right? So velocity or in a medium, we that day we have used this relation, is equivalent to velocity of the in air divided by the refractive index of the medium, right? So what it says is, as your medium becomes denser, that is refractive index increases, your velocity in the medium reduces. So that simply says that since we know it has got the highest refractive index at this point and the lowest, as we can see, the highest at this point and lowest at this point, what is happening is when the ray is traveling in a region near to the core, because of its high refractive index, it will give you a low velocity. And this path 3, which is traveling through a lower refractive index, will be a longer path but traveling through a lesser refractive index, and hence will be reaching the destination at almost the same time, and which will reduce your dispersion as compared to your step index fiber, right? This much we have covered. So now how do we mathematically represent the graded index fiber? What do we see here is you have a varying profile, and for area region with radius or greater than A, your refractive index is N2. So the relation that we have for the graded index refractive index from say 0 to A or 0 to minus A is given by N1 1 minus 2 delta R by A to power of alpha by 2. Now, what does this alpha represent? Alpha represents a step, a profile. Basically, it's a profile number. Depending upon the alpha, it may take a step index path, or it may take a parabolic, or it may take a triangular profile. So as you see here, the alpha, when it is for a step index fiber, is infinity to give you this value as n1. When it is alpha equal to 2, you call it as a parabolic profile, and for a triangular. Now the point that you need to remember is we always prefer graded index fibers with the parabolic profile, because that gives you the minimum dispersion. This parabolic profile gives you a minimum dispersion. Okay, So this also relation is very important, mathematical representation of a graded index fibers. Okay, now what I was talking about that day, now let's start with finding out this, what is this value? Say if I have multiple modes traveling through my fiber, as I said, this is one mode that is traveling through my fiber. This is another mode which is traveling through the fiber with the in the same step index fiber. So what is happening is there is a delay in terms of when the information in this path will reach the destination and information in this part will reach the destination. That delay is a deciding parameter. That delay is a deciding parameter to tell you that whether the signal will be reaching on with how much delay and how much bandwidth it will be limiting, because that delay, as you can see, is a parameter that limits your bandwidth or tells you that when your second information can start. So we need to actually be controlling this delta t to give you the best results. Okay, so I'll just prove, I'll not come to this equation directly. Let's prove it. Okay, first let me draw. We will take two cases, two path basically, and find out what is the maximum delay that can happen in a step index fiber. Okay, this is my fiber with this as the core. I just change the color for the path. This is, may say, my path 1, that is the longest path that the ray takes. That is basically, it is satisfying my critical condition. Beyond that, what is happening is any ray coming will not reach the destination, and this is the shortest path. So this is the longest path and this is the shortest path I take. This is my perpendicular that I draw. This is my refractive index N1. Okay. Now, what I'll do is I'll just type here. Now, we are saying that this particular case represents our critical condition, that is its angle of incidence is theta A, and say this is forming some angle theta here. So what will this angle? This is a critical condition that is being satisfied. All of, do you agree? Any ray coming beyond this will not be able to travel through it, and just the ray coming through it will be taking the extreme path. Yes, do you agree with me? Yes or no? So can you tell me what will be this angle that will be formed at the core cladding interface? What will be the angle formed at this core cladding interface? Tell me. ये critical condition
minus theta.
90 minus theta, yes. But what is it? You know that value. Can you name it? ये critical condition को satisfy कर रहा है, तो ये क्या है? जब total internal reflection होता है हमारा, तो ये आपका बनेगा last condition है. Beyond that there will be no total internal reflection. Yes. Beyond that there will be a refraction and you will be moving into the cladding. Do you agree with me when I say this angle will be angle of incidence at the core cladding interface? That is the last line, that is the last ray that is coming, will have a total internal reflection. Will this angle be theta C? Yes, critical angle. Very good. So as he said, this definitely this theta c is, sorry, phi c. I am written it as phi c. This phi c is equivalent to 90 minus theta. Correct, as you said. Okay. Now let's take some geometrical representation. I name this distance as L from this point to this particular point. Okay, this is the distance L, right? So how much time? This is the minimum path. So I'll take it as minimum time. Okay, what will be the minimum time taken by this ray to cover this distance L? Can anyone tell me? First, can you tell me what will be the velocity of light in this particular medium? Can anyone tell me what will be the velocity of light in this medium? Yes, yes, I'm getting answers. Perfect, perfect. C by N1. Why? You know, it's the velocity of the light divided by the refractive index. Perfect. करेक्ट. नॉट टेल मी, आपको पास टाइम निकालना है, आपको डिस्टेंस दिया है, वेलोसिटी मालूम है. कैन आई फाइंड आउट? कैन आई फाइंड आउट मिनिमम टाइम टेकन बाय द, yes, 3 into 10 to power of 6. Why do you say, Kirti, 6? What is the unit that you are talking about? 3 into 10 to power of 5 kilometers per second hota hai? Yeah, correct. It's 3 into 10 to power of 8. Perfect. Perfect. It's length by the velocity. Perfect. So time will be L divided by C by N1. Okay. L by velocity. It is nothing but time is equal to length divided by the velocity. Okay. So can I write it as L N1 by C. Correct? Do you agree with me? Yes. Now this was minimum. I should write it as MIN. Now tell me, when I say this is the maximum path, maximum distance or longest path, sorry, this is the longest path. Can you tell me what will be the T max? Yes. Can anyone tell me what will be T max? Yeah, I'm waiting. What will be your T max? What will be T max equal to? Yes. If I have this distance, right, it has to be this distance divided by the velocity, right, that the signal has to travel. I name it as L dash. Okay, I can see some answer. It's hypotenuse into N1 by C. Tell me what is the hypotenuse. Perfect. It's hypotenuse, that is L1 by C by N1. I'll write C by N1 as V because now we know the value of V. Okay, tell me what is L dash? Not, it's not L, L dash. Can I write L dash in terms of L? What is L dash in terms of L? बताइए. Simple. Cos use कर सकते हैं. Yes. Cos of theta क्या होगा? Yeah, I can see the answer. Correct. It's L by cos of theta. Yes. Everyone, do you agree or not? Or just cos theta is equivalent to L by L dash? correct? Yes, right. So what is my L dash? Taking L dash up, L by cos theta. So L dash is L by cos of theta. Now what is my theta? Theta is equivalent to 90 minus 5, right? I can see this equation. From this equation, can I say theta is equal to 90 minus 5? Yes. Okay. So what is cos of 90 minus 5? Yes. Cos of 90 minus 5. What is cos of 90 minus 5? Perfect. It's sine of 5. Now what is sine of phi c? Do you know the value of sine of phi c? Yes, tell me, do you know the value of sine of phi c? Cos of 90 minus theta phi is sine of phi. Tell me the value of phi c. You know the value of phi c. Yes. Sin phi का वैल्यू कितना होता है? sin phi c का वैल्यू मालूम है? क्रिटिकल एंगल का वैल्यू
90 माइनस थीटा।
अरे 90 माइनस थीटा से ही तो हमने निकाला है, हमने स्नेल्स लॉ लगा के phi c का वैल्यू निकाला था. sin phi c is equivalent to n2 by n1. You remember that? Sorry. क्रिटिकल एंगल का वैल्यू क्या है? क्रिटिकल एंगल का डेरिवेशन आपने किया है. टेल मी द वैल्यू ऑफ क्रिटिकल एंगल. Yes. Yeah. Theta c is sine inverse of n2 by n1. So n2 by n1. So I know the value. So this equation becomes is equivalent to, the equation becomes L n1 by n2, correct? Substituting the value of sine phi c, it becomes L n1 by n2, correct? Okay. Now I have this value of L dash. Now tell me what will be your T max. And now I write the equation of T max. So it becomes L n1 square by Cn2. Yes or no? Yeah. Everyone, please check. Are you getting this value of T max as n1 square by Cn2? Yes. Now, what are we supposed to finally do is find out this time delay, right? Between the maximum time that the modes take to reach the destination and the minimum time. So it is nothing but it is T max minus T min. Please solve it and give me the answer. I'm not going to solve. I'm waiting for you to complete. T max is just a difference that you need to calculate. Yeah. Who will tell me the answer? आपको simply T max minus T min करना है. So it is ln1 by C, which is common. I can write this equation as L N1 by C. Max में क्या है आपका N1 by N2 minus 1. Yeah, somebody got the answer. Yes, so it is delta T is equal to N1 ln1. It's ln1 by C. C is in the denominator. Okay. Yeah, ln1 by Cn2. Perfect. It's n1 by n2 minus 1, not 1 minus n1 by n2. You see, n1 is greater than n2 now. Time cannot be a negative quantity and it is maximum minus minimum. Okay, it's maximum minus minimum. Maximum में है आपका n1 square by n2. Taking out n1 common, what remains is n1 by n2. Is it clear to everyone? So the equation becomes, as you have written, L n1 by C into n1 minus n2 by n2. Okay, yes. Now, what was your expression for numerical aperture and delta, if you could tell me? First, tell me the value of delta that you have used last time. It was n1 square minus n2 square by twice n1. What did you approximate it to? Right? I said this is approximately equal to n1 minus n2. Sorry, it is n1 square. It was n1 minus n2. Mohit, it's divided by 2n1 square. n1 minus n2 by n1. Why does this happen is, as I told you, this is a square minus b square. It can be written as a minus b into a plus b. That is n1 plus n2. n1 and n2 are actually very near values. They are approximately, they say that they are equal. So we replace n2 by n1. So you get 2 n1 in the numerator. It gets cancelled and this is what you get. So what do you see here? You get n1 minus n2 by n2, right? So I can write multiply and divide by n1, right? I can multiply and divide by n1. So what will this equation become? Can you tell me? In terms of delta? In terms of delta, what I have done is I have simply multiplied and divided by n1. Okay, to make this equation or bring it in the form of n1 minus n2 by n1. Tell me, क्या इक्वेशन होगी डेल्टा के टर्म्स में? डेल्टा के टर्म्स में क्या होगा? Yes, it is L n1 square by C, taking out n2. What is remaining is correct. It is Cn2 into delta. These relations are important because we need to solve. Now, if I see or if I write this equation in terms of NA के terms में आपका equation क्या था? It was N1 square root of twice of delta. Okay. Now tell me what will be this delta T in terms of Na? Numerical aperture. बताइए. आपके पास n1 है, डेल्टा है, n1 स्क्वायर है, डेल्टा है. अगर मैं 2 से मल्टीप्लाई एंड डिवाइड कर दूं तो क्या होगा? इट विल बी n1 स्क्वायर 2 डेल्टा which is nothing but square of your numerical aperture, right? So the equation can also be written as L Na square, right? Na square divided by 2C N2. Yes, is it visible, this equation? Yes or no? This N2. I'll just try to write it again. Okay. Now, important point here is when we derive this equation, your delta T, right? Delta T is proportional to N1 minus N2. What do you want? This N1 for the first question that I want to ask you is whether delta T should be a large quantity or a small, which is an ideal value for a delta T. Tell me. Yes? Anyone? Wake up, huh? Vivek, can you tell me what should be delta T, low or high? Yes, Vivek, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Ah,
It should be high.
delta, it should be high. Ria, what do you say? Ria? How many of you agree with Vivek when he says that delta T should be high? Penaz? Penaz, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, what should be delta T? Ideally, high or low? What does delta T represent? What does delta T represent?
Delta T should be high according to me.
Why? Why do you say so? Yeah. I showed you a relation between bandwidth as 1 by delta T, right? For an ideal communication system, your bandwidth should be as high as possible. And what is delta T representing? It is representing a delay between the two modes which results in dispersion, that is broadening of your pulse. The broadening of a pulse will limit your bandwidth and hence will make the system less efficient, and therefore what should be delta T? Now can you answer, Vivek and Ria? When you say it should be high, that means you are assuming that, or you want that bandwidth should be, when delta T is high, what is an impact on bandwidth? Tell me, Vivek.
It decreases.
Right. So you want a less bandwidth or you want a more bandwidth?
We want a higher bandwidth.
So for a higher bandwidth, delta t should be low or high.
No, it should be as low as possible.
Now, Ria, do you agree to this? Delta t should be as low as possible. Yeah, sorry. Penas? Ria, are you there? Yeah, Penas, tell me.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you say? Delta t should be high, or still you stick to your answer of that?
No, ma'am. It should be low now. It should be low.
It should be low. So for it to be
Yes,
low,
ma'am.
tell me what changes we can do, or how we can control, or how we can make it low, looking at the mathematical equation of delta t. Just look at this equation. How can you make it low? Yeah, Penas, tell me. Priya, are you
Ma'am, we
there?
can modify
Yes,
angle.
ma'am.
Yeah. You also need
Yes,
to
ma'am.
keep your answer prepared of how we can make delta t low. Right. Yeah, Penas, continue.
Yes, ma'am. We can modify the angle theta.
Angle theta. Angle theta corresponds to a case when it is coming at theta a. Now look at this equation. अभी वहां छोड़ दीजिए, आपने अभी उसको mathematically represent कर लिया है delta t को. You have derived it. Looking at this equation, can you tell me how can you make delta t small? ये जो करना था आपने इधर कर लिया. Don't look at this theta. And you have no control over theta. It has the characteristics of the fiber that you are using.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
if T min is greater than is more than T max, then delta T will be less.
T min is more than T max. That means you want to say delta T is a negative quantity. Is it possible? Practically having delta T a negative quantity?
No, ma'am. Ma'am, the difference
Please be
between T max and
sensible.
T min
Please
should
be
be
sensible when you are answering. Look at the equation and be present when you are a part of a class. Now look at the equation again and tell me. यहाँ पे ये equation आपने derive कर ली है. How can you say that minimum will be more than maximum? You are trying to say 100 rupees is 10 rupees should be more than 100 rupees. Is this what you want to say? Minimum is minimum, is less, therefore we call it minimum. Yes, Penas, tell me, look at the equation and tell me.
Ma'am, T max and T min should tend to 0.
Yeah, T max and T min should tend to 0, not individually, the difference should tend to 0. Then only delta T
Yes,
will
ma'am.
be. And how can we make this difference 0? Look at this equation. I'm telling you, look at this equation and tell me which parameter you will change to make it 0. 0 hona hai usko. Correct? You said
Yes, ma'am.
perfect. The difference should be 0. How can you make the difference 0? Look at this equation. Can you make length 0?
No,
Yes.
ma'am. We cannot make length 0.
Can you make C
Ma'am,
0? Can you
ma'am,
make
N1
ma'am,
and N2
N1
should
is
be
equal
equal.
to N2.
yes? What do you say? N1,
N1 and N2 should be equal.
N1 and N2 should be equal. That is, your difference of N1 minus N2 should be right. They should be equal, or they should be as near as possible. That is why for getting minimum dispersion, you need to keep N1 and N2 as near as possible. But if we look at the numerical aperture, there what do we see is when we keep N1 minus N2 low, your acceptance angle reduces. So there is a trade-off, right? You cannot say that keep it exactly same or basically very low, but we need to, depending upon how much you want to accept, that, or how much light you want to feed into the fiber, and how much dispersion or how much bandwidth that is expected. There is a trade-off, and accordingly we choose N1 minus N2 as near as possible to keep or satisfy both the conditions. So now do you understand why I said air cannot be used? Because air N2 is 1. So that brings it to a large difference between the core and the cladding, and increasing the dispersion. And we don't want increased dispersion because that will reduce your bandwidth. And to have a larger bandwidth, we need to have core and cladding. Cladding not only provides the support, but also reduces the dispersion. Is it clear? Yes. Now everyone is there in the class. It's not me alone in the class. Yes or no? I want to see hand raise from all of you if you are present in the class. Yeah, Vivek, Kirti, Yash, are you there in the class? What about others? Please raise your hand if you are in the class. You cannot raise your hand? Okay, Vivek, I can see yes. What about you, Kirti? Yash, Vaibhav, Bhavik, Aditya, Niketan, Rishit. Are you present or absent in this class? I'm still waiting for your hand raise. So I'll take a snapshot of this hand raise for the attendance. Plus Vivek. Yeah, Vivek has also done. Okay. So is this clear? This derivation is clear. This is important. This numericals are also asked. We'll be again revisiting this in our transmission losses, because dispersion is one of your losses. So can you see, this is what you have derived. Delta T is ln1 by C into n1 minus n2. And you need to keep this n1 minus n2 as low as possible to keep delta T low to get a high bandwidth. Okay. And but as I said, there is a trade-off. So optical fibers are a weakly guided because your numerical aperture is kept low, taking bandwidth as a higher priority. Okay. Now numerical aperture that we have seen. So definitely it's an acceptance angle, as I explained you in the last class. This is a representation, or to have a better understanding is, as your acceptance angle increases, more light is being coupled. Although it has no relation with the diameter, but still you can have a mechanism to couple more light into a fibers with a larger diameter as compared to the fibers with the lower diameters having the same refractive index. Now coming to how do you classify the fiber? One classification that you have seen is the step index, the graded index, single mode, multi-mode. Depending on the material also we classify depending on the materials. The modes, as I already explained you, single, we'll have to do some derivations and understand better as which mode or which wavelength can travel into it. And the refractive index, this I've already done. This is just to have you are asked a question on the difference. So we have glass core and cladding fibers. So glass core and plastic cladding fibers, plastic core and plastic cladding fibers are there. Definitely these fibers which you see are used only for, they are very losses are more as compared to, definitely this glass core and glass cladding gives you the best propagation characteristics and least attenuation, as this has got, means you can say that in between medium attenuation and propagation characteristics, it is used for the military applications, and this is giving you the more attenuation as compared to these two cases. Now, modes I have already explained. Now, we need to understand that, as I told you, I had put forward a question before you, is why do we need to have a separate fiber for a single mode? I could have used a multi-mode fiber only for sending a single, but as I told you that there is a binding condition or a boundary condition. Now, what is that boundary condition? Now, there is a constant, propagation constant, beta, right, which is defined by the, for any material that through which this ray is traveling. So beta is equivalent to omega, sorry, it's n naught square root of omega into, it's better to draw, should have this. So first thing is the point clear? What does the mode represent? It is the path, that different paths that a ray takes to the different paths that a ray takes to reach the destination. Okay, this is one mode. There could be another mode. There could be a third mode, right? So they are all representing the different modes traveling through it. Now, point is, we need to understand when a mode travels, when it is lost, all that condition we need to understand. So this is a diagram to show you. I think it's break. We'll meet again at 11:10, and I'll start with this modes, classification of a fiber as per single mode and what calculations. Okay, so we'll break for 10 minutes, and I hope by that time all the hand raises will be there to get the attendance. Still people are sleeping. Okay. So I was talking about your propagation constant, which decides about how many modes can travel through your fiber. Now, what is the propagation constant? The formula, as you know, it is N1 it's N1 2 pi by lambda, or N1 omega C, right? 2 pi by lambda. Okay. Now, what is N? Basically, I should have written it as N. Your propagation constant is N, 2 pi by lambda. Now, what decides whether a mode will travel through the fiber or be confined to the fiber core, right? When I say a mode is traveling, the important point that we need to understand is the energy that is associated with the mode will be associated in the core only. It is no more traveling into the cladding, because we know as the energy gets or the mode gets associated with the cladding, it gets lost. Okay, so we want it to be associated with the core. So for that, this important thing is which mode will travel or how many modes will travel will be decided by the propagation constant of each mode, which is calculated by this. And for it to be confined into the core, that is the propagation constant, that is B, for that particular mode should be greater than that of the cladding, right? For the cladding means this becomes N2. So when this B2 is N2 2 pi by lambda, so your beta should be, the propagation constant should be greater than that of an N2, but less than that of a cladding to be confined to this core area. So all the modes or all the signals which follow or which are able to satisfy this condition of beta greater than beta 2 and less than beta 1, beta 1 is, this is replaced by N2 is replaced by N1. So that is what is the boundary or the defining condition for the modes. So when I said can any number of modes travel through the fiber, the answer is no. Only the modes which satisfy this condition of having a propagation constant greater than N2 2 pi by lambda and less than N1 2 pi by lambda will only travel from the source to the destination. The other modes will be leaky or the lost modes. Okay. Now this is what you see as the mode. So it's a single mode, multi-mode fiber. So as the fiber diameter is increasing, the number of modes are increasing. So it's the ray of light which is able to reach the destination. So any number of modes can travel through the fiber depending upon its diameters and other parameters. We need to look into what are these parameters. So first, let us see as how the light ray travels through a fiber. It is like a wave front which is traveling through the fiber, which will have a maxima and a minima. And this is an electromagnetic wave, means it will have an electric field and a magnetic field associated with it. Now, when this ray is traveling through it, there are wave fronts associated with it. And at the interface, there will be a change in the phase. So because of this, what happens is there is a point of wherever this rays are meeting with an opposite phase. Because of the change in phase, this opposite phase, what will happen is one is having, say, X phase, the other is having a minus X phase. So what will happen is they will cancel each other, and hence that is called as destructive interference. And the points at which similar phase wavefronts are intersecting, they are called as constructive wavefronts. So these are the points, as I said, of opposite phases, they are interfering. At those points, your energy will be zero. And the points at which similar phase wavefronts are meeting, you will have addition of energy, that's called as constructive interference, which results in a field pattern. But you will find that this field pattern is decaying into the cladding, and this interference, yeah, it's decaying. Now what do you see here is this shows as how many modes are traveling through the fiber. The number of modes correspond to number of crossings of this zero line. So what is happening is, as you can see, there is some energy into the core and some energy is extending into the cladding. And as the number of intersections with this axis or 0 points increases, what is happening is more and more energy gets associated into the cladding, that is called as the evanescent field. And beyond, as this number keeps on increasing, it's not that when I say I can couple all the rays that satisfy my boundary condition, but there is a limit to how many rays that can travel through it. How many rays that can travel to it. Yeah. So in this, what is happening, as I was telling, did you hear this, what I was saying in this slide, or was I disconnected during this time? Yes? Was I audible? When I was
In this,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Mohit?
ma'am, when you came in this slide, we were unable to hear.
Okay. Okay. So now what I'm trying to explain with this slide is there is a limit to number of modes that can travel through the fiber. The reason being that, which is visible in this particular diagram, is the field patterns show that as the modes M increases, your energy is getting more and more into the cladding. That is evanescent field, that is it is called when it is getting coupled into the cladding. And as you can see, this is a mode 3, so more and more energy is getting coupled. So this is more clearly explained, and this is about the energies. So as you can see, the whole energy in the first case is concentrated into the core. This is what you want. When I said the signal or a mode is traveling through your fiber, the whole energy should be concentrated into the core. Then this is when the modes increases, your energy gets distributed, it gets further distributed. And as you can see, the more energy focus is moving towards the core and the cladding. So here at this point of interference, at the point of interference, yeah, sorry. So what is happening is in this, as you can see, the energy, there is an energy that is some field is associated with the cladding. And as this energy on the interface point, so the lesser, as you can see, the more energy is now at these points, and it will start interfering. And hence what will happen is there will be more losses. So as we keep on increasing the modes, the losses will definitely increases because of the transfer of energy or interference of energy with the field associated in the cladding region. So higher modes, the field is penetrating more into the cladding, and this is just to give you the numbers. Now let us see as what is the mode, right? This is a fiber. As you see, some patterns are, this is some practical results that are shown here. So as you see, the patterns are basically an indicator of the number of modes that are traveling through the fiber. So this shows, so whatever pattern is that you are transmitting, that is being received at the receiver. The patterns sustain their shape as they propagate. So those are the modes that will be reaching the destination. And each field has a different velocity in the fiber. We'll come to that. We call it as the phase and the group velocity. That term will come to the velocity of the modes. And this shows a particular case, the effect of radius, that is the number of modes. All of us understand that the number of modes affect the the core radius of the core affects the number of modes traveling through it. So let us assume that N1 and N2 is constant. So you can see that when the core radius is around 20 micrometers, we can transmit all these patterns through the same fiber, right? And when it is reduced to 15, the number of patterns that can be transmitted, or you can say the modes that can be transmitted, is reducing. And if we further reduce it, further it reduces your number of modes that can travel, and coming to around 8 microns, which is for a single mode transmission, you see a single pattern being transmitted. So this is just to tell you that as the dimensions are reducing, what all patterns do we get through the fiber, or how many modes are able to travel because of the change in the core radius. Similarly, if we see the numerical aperture, keeping the radius also constant and cladding refractive index constant, what do we see is the with the change in numerical aperture, and definitely this will change. I cannot say that numerical aperture will change keeping n1 constant. So as I change my n1 keeping n2 constant, the numerical aperture changes. And as the numerical aperture changes, you can see it's reduced, the number of patterns are reducing. And for a single mode transmission, it's around this particular value, further reducing it or making this n1 more closer to n2, that you get a single mode transmission. Now, if we see the effect of wavelength on the number of modes that are traveling through a fiber, so this is for say 300 nanometer, this is a pattern that you are getting. And as you change, so what is happening is, this is just an indicator. These patterns that you see are about the energy, right? I told you that as the modes are, number of modes are changing, the energy distribution is changing. So what are these patterns showing you? They are showing the energy distribution, and hence indicating the number of modes that are traveling into through your fiber. So what is all this? We saw that this number of modes depend on what? The core radius, right? We could see it's changing with the core radius, it's changing with the numerical aperture, it's changing with the wavelength that is traveling through the fiber. So if we combine all these parameters, the relation between them help us to actually define a particular number called as V number, also called as normalized frequency, which helps us to calculate the number of modes traveling through the fiber. So this is there is a derivation associated with it, but it's not a part of syllabus, so I'm not taking it here. So the relation, we know that as A NA by lambda, it's 2 pi by lambda ANA. That's a V number which we will be using for calculating the uh, number of modes traveling through the fiber. Now, as the V number, this is an important relation that you see while we define the fibers, right? When we design our fibers, when experiment is there on designing your fibers. So this V number, when it is less than 2.405, it is 405. This particular tells you that the number of mode that can travel to the fiber is a fundamental mode only. And when it increases, yeah, it is for less than equal to 2.405. I just wanted to show you one. Okay. Just, okay. So what is happening is, as this V number increases, the number of modes that is traveling, the transverse electric, transfer magnetic, the hybrid modes that are traveling through your fiber, that changes. So as you increase this V number greater than 2.405, definitely more modes get associated with it. Now this V number gives you that the number of modes traveling through a step index fiber is, so as I said, your numerical aperture, your delta and V help us to design our fiber. So these are the parameters which we'll be using for designing the fibers. So as you set your N1 and N2, that defines your numerical aperture, delta, and using your numerical aperture, you can calculate your V number. So let's first calculate this for this particular case. Let's take one problem, then we'll come to the number of modes. So all of you please try to solve this. A multi-mode step index fiber with a core diameter of 80 micrometer and a refractive index delta is given to be 15%, sorry 1.5%, that is 1.5 by 100, is operating at a wavelength of 0.85 micrometer. If the core refractive index is 1.48, estimate the normalized frequency. So the formula is given to you that we have already 2 pi by lambda. So in terms of delta, because numerical aperture it's A and A था, हमने NA की जगह we have written the formula for NA that you have. Just solve it and tell me what is the V number that you are getting. Substitute the values. Now try to solve this problem. What should be the core diameter? You are given 1000 modes. So can you tell me what is your V number? Modes is 1000. Tell me what is the V number? For a step index multimode fiber, your V mode is equivalent to V square by 2. Okay, using this relation, tell me what is your V? Yes, 44.72. Okay. Tell me next. Now you know the value of V number. V is equivalent to 2 pi A N A by lambda. Correct? Correct. Now you know the value of V. You know the numerical aperture. You know the wavelength traveling through it. Can you find out the value of A? Yes. Is it clear what I'm trying ask? This problem is asking you to do. Yes, tell me the value of diameter. Yeah, how much is A that you are getting? First tell me A. Your D is equivalent to 2A. Yeah. A is 3.05. What is the unit, Kirti? Yeah. Diameter is, it's 30.4, 10 to the power minus 5, correct. So it is 30.25 micrometers and correct, 60.48 micrometers is your diameter. Okay. 30 micrometers. So double of it is around 60.5 micrometers, right? So first part is done. How many modes does the fiber support at 1320 nanometers? Now what he has done is, now he is, you know what is A, you know the numerical aperture. Now he wants you to calculate the V number for a new lambda, that is 1320 instead of 850 nanometer, which was the previous value. Tell me, calculate. V2, that's the second case. Yeah. 28.78. But the number of modes, please remember, will always be an integer. It cannot be a quantity in fractions. Okay. So definitely a full mode will travel or it will not travel. So whatever be a fraction on the right, whether it is more than 6, we normally prefer to take it a value which is without the fraction part. Is it correct? Others are getting 28.79. Still, we will take it as 28. So 28 full modes can travel through your fiber. Is it clear, everyone? 28, Kirti, 28. Although it is 0.79, we'll stick to 28. Yes? Everyone, is it clear? Yes or no? Yeah. Okay. Now,
Ma'am, like we have to find modes, no? So V number square divided by 2.
sorry, तुमने V number पहले निकाला. The number of modes. Perfect, perfect. Your V number is coming out to be 20. I'm so sorry. It's not the modes, correct. Your V number was coming out to be 28.79. Perfect. Your number of modes is equivalent to V square by 2. I'm so sorry. I just missed. Okay. So number of modes कितना होगा? 441. So 414. Okay. Yes, yes. I'm so sorry. Right? We stopped here. It's not your V number is not your modes. He's asking not V number. He's asking how many modes. So modes is V square by 2. Yes. Okay. Again, I'll have to. Okay. It's already there, huh? Solution is already there. I'm just removing the questions and putting it on the other slide. Okay, so you need not worry. Okay, now graded index. Now coming to graded index, first thing is how many modes does can travel through a graded index. You know there is a profile parameter. So for a graded index, the profile parameter, the number of modes is given by alpha, which was a profile parameter. Depending upon alpha is infinity, 1 or 2, it is step, triangular or a parabolic profile. So for that, it is number of modes is given by, it's not 4, it's alpha. Into v square by 2. Right? So if you say it is a para step index, definitely alpha is infinity, it comes out to be v square by 2. When it is triangular, it comes to be 1 by 3 v square by 2. And when it is parabolic, it is 2, alpha is 2, so it comes out to be 1.1 by 1 by 2 v square by 2, which is equivalent to v square by 4. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now graded index higher has a core with a parabolic refractive index. Now parabolic word is used, I said, na, you know the value of alpha for parabolic. For parabolic, alpha is equivalent to 2. Okay. Which has a diameter of 50 micron. The fiber has a numerical aperture. Estimate the total number of guided modes propagating in the fiber when it's operating at a wavelength of 1 micron. Okay. So the first thing that we have to do is calculate your V number, which is okay. Tell me, what is the V number? Your diameter is given, your A will be equal to 25, correct? Yeah, everybody got the answer. 31.413. Everyone, are you getting this answer for V number? And Mohit, we will not, this is V number ना, तो इसको 31.415 आ नहीं रहा है या तुम ले रहे हो V को 31.415? That was my mistake. Na, I told you I had taken it to be 29, 28.79 to be 28, assuming it's mode. Mode definitely has to be an integer, but V number can be in fractions.
Okay, ma'am.
So number of modes, बताइए कितना होगा? Alpha is equal to 2. So this becomes V square by 4. Sorry, V square by 4. Alpha, substituting alpha equal to 2, it's V square by 4. Tell me what is the number of modes? Yeah, it's 246. Correct. Number of modes is 246. Okay. Done, everyone? Yes, completed or no? Or still doing? Have you finished? Yeah. Others, please finish it fast. Now solve this problem. Second problem. You have to calculate the numerical aperture where the V number is given, radius is given, wavelength is given. Now you know the formula, quickly apply it. Yeah, 0.22, correct. Just substitute the values and see are you getting this value or not. So we'll now have a quick recap of what we did last 10 minutes. Yeah, 0.22, correct. So we started with this, okay. So I introduced to the mathematical model of a step index fiber. That is when I have to represent mathematical model of a refractive index of a step index fiber. It is N1 inside the core, and in the cladding it is N2. And then we also talked about the ray transmission in the graded index fiber. Then we did a derivation to get the value of delta T for a fiber that is a step index fiber. And we this we first thing that we did was a graded index fiber, the mathematical model. We have shown that N1 is equivalent to, in the refractive index is equivalent to N1, 1 plus 2 delta R by into alpha to the power of alpha, where alpha is your it's a profile parameter, and that changes, and accordingly your profile or the shape of a refractive index will change. And it is 1 for triangular profile, 2 for parabolic, and infinity for step index. Yes, and here we have derived the expression of delta t, which is the difference between the T max and T min. That is the time taken by a mode to travel to the destination, where taking the longest path and the shortest path. And here you could see that since the bandwidth is dependent upon inversely proportional to 1 by delta t, which delta t is the difference between the time taken by maximum time and the minimum time. And to make it as low as possible, the only way is to keep n1 minus n2 as low as possible. And therefore you find that core and cladding are very near refractive index, although the higher difference between n1 and n2 gives you a higher numerical aperture. But we want to have a lower dispersion to have an very large bandwidth, and therefore you will find that all your optical fibers are weakly guided. Then this was to show you that numerical aperture, that is an acceptance angle. The amount of energy associated with the fiber increases with an increase in acceptance angle, although no relation with the diameter, but still it increases with the change because of the better ability to couple it. Depending upon the materials that are used for the fiber, the fibers can be classified as glass fibers, glass core, and glass cladding fibers, because they give you the lowest attenuation and the best propagation characteristics, but they are delicate. The glass core and a plastic cladding, which gives you medium attenuation and propagation characteristics. Plastic core and plastic cladding gives you a large attenuation of the signal, and they can be used in the LAN networks only. Then coming to the modes is the number of paths that the particular, or basically the energy that the light energy can travel from the source to the destination. Your light is an electromagnetic radiation which can take any path to reach the destination, and the shortest path is the along the core axis, which is used for a single mode transmission. Then I talked about the dimensions. So as the single mode transmission is concerned, we have the fibers with a low core diameter, and multi-mode have a higher core diameter. So there are stringent rules so that complicate the process of fabrication of a single mode fibers. Yeah, then we started with the propagation conditions for a signal that a mode can propagate through the fiber. It is when the propagation constant, that is B2, is beta, which is proportional to the refractive index N2, or your propagation constant is greater than B2 and less than B1, where B is equal to 2 pi n by lambda. So corresponding to the core and cladding, your propagation of a signal takes place through your fiber. So all the energy, basically we want that propagation means the energy should be confined to the core. The energy will be confined to the core only if it satisfies the boundary condition of a propagation constant. So depending upon the size, how many modes can be coupled. Then we talked about the constructive interference and destructive interference when a ray is traveling through the fiber. And at every interference, there will be a phase change in the wavefront, and which results in the constructive and destructive interference, resulting in the standing wave type patterns inside the core. But at the cladding, there will be a decaying field associated with the A. Then we talked about how does the energy associated with the core changes as we keep on increasing the modes. So as the modes are less, the more and more energy is associated inside the core around the axis. As the number of modes increases, or what is happening is your energy is getting transferred to the core cladding interface, and because of which there could be an interference with the cladding energy, and there could be losses. Higher modes may associate or get penetrated into the cladding. Then this I told you that what is an effect of modes that are traveling, and what is an effect of core radius. So as you are reducing, only one pattern is able to travel, the others cannot sustain and reach the destination. Similarly, I talked about the numerical aperture. By changing the numerical aperture, your number of modes is changing. The lesser is the numerical aperture, you can see lesser modes are traveling through it. Similarly, for the wavelength, with the change in wavelength, the patterns show that different modes are traveling, and hence we find that the number of modes have a relation with the core radius, numerical aperture, wavelength, which is given by a parameter called as normalized frequency, also called as the V number. For single mode transmission, this V number is less than 2.405, and that is for a single mode condition. You can say that for single mode transmission, when you are designing your fiber, you need to see that the parameters that you have selected should be satisfying this condition, that V number is less than 2.405. Here. Then I talked about this relation, it's already given. Then the designer's parameter, as I said, when you are designing the fibers, these will help you to design your fibers and satisfy your condition of V less than 2.405 in case it's a single mode fiber. Larger V's will have a larger number of modes. So V is also defining how many modes will be coupled into the fiber. So for step index fiber, the number of modes is V square by 2, and for a graded index fiber, it is V square by 4 for a parabolic profile, that is M is equal to alpha upon alpha plus 2 into V square by 2. Okay, so we solve certain numericals. That's it we did today.